Alright, what do you want to know about Starfield then? Because we've watched the Direct a billion times now, seen all the interviews, zoomed in on all the screenshots, so what do you want to learn more about? Character customization? Backgrounds? Ships? Traits? Skills? Or planets? I mean, everything we know so far is right here in this video, but you can feel free to skip using the chapters down below to find the bits you're most interested in. But why don't we start at the very beginning? Firstly, let's cover everything new with character creation. We've seen this radial menu before, but walking and body styles are new additions. It's the face panel though, where a lot of the newer flourishes are going to come through. For Starfield, Bethesda totally overhauled their character creator, drawing on facial scans from a diverse range of people to ensure that everyone can see themselves faithfully represented in the game, if that's what they're after. And since these same scans are actually used to generate the NPCs in the game, you might encounter some familiar faces out in the cosmos, maybe you even see your doppelganger. But as well as radial menus for when you want to refine certain details of your face like shape or effect intensity, there's over 40 different hairstyles and plenty of jewelry and skin customization too. But if later on down the line you've decided, I actually don't fancy looking like this anymore, you can completely change all of your cosmetic options by going to a genetics facility, which is quite similar to what we've been able to do in previous games like Fallout 4. After that, the next thing you'll need to decide is your character background, which is a brand new feature. They'll provide you with certain buffs and skills, but will also affect how certain other characters behave towards you. So here's a quick rundown of all of the backgrounds that we've managed to uncover so far, but you can only pick one, so choose wisely. For a bit of Jon Favreau flavour, you can pick a chef. You'll naturally be able to prepare better quality food and drinks. Also, those knife skills will also give your melee weapons a buff, and you'll also get a scavenging bonus. Combat medics receive a buff to their pistols and medicine, as well as a perk called Wellness, which is sure to help you stay in good health. If you're planning to focus on stealth, cyber runners can pull off totally undetectable kills when they use silenced weapons, and are also able to pick both pockets and digital locks way more effectively. It's a bit of a mouthful, but the cyberneticist background also lets you tackle digital locks and improves your medical new and grants a buff to your laser weapons. Diplomats are of course more persuasive, meaning they get access to improved dialogue options, and they also have a flair for commerce, which should help you trade more profitably. You also get more health too, just in case any persuasion checks might fail. And the Explorer option is definitely worth exploring if you fancy an improved grav drive for your ship, buffs to your surveying skills, and make your laser weapons even more deadly. On top of these background options, we've also got some screen grabs of a bunch that we don't quite know the details of yet, but you can probably work out roughly what you'll be getting if you decide to be a bouncer, beast hunter, bounty hunter, gangster, homesteader, industrialist, pilgrim, professor, or a ronin, which sounds sick. We also know that the background you picked can impact on unique dialogue options too, as seen when talking with Markeith Sutherland with a beast hunter character right here.
Fine, I probably should stick to professionals anyway, given what happened the last time.
As well as their backstory, you'll also be able to bless your character with up to 3 different traits. Separate to skills, these personality quirks come with all sorts of effects, both positive and negative. But if you get sick of any of them, there are ways to remove them later on by fulfilling certain conditions. For example, the hero worship trait gives you an adoring fanboy who will follow you around Oblivion style, showering you with both affection and valuable gifts. As a companion, the adoring fan seems to have some additional skills in scavenging, concealment, and strength. But if their constant color commentary gets a little too irritating, then they do say that in space there's no one to hear you scream. Kid stuff is a lot more wholesome, providing your character with a pair of adoring parents. Sure, they'll take 2% of your income, but you get to go and visit them and hear how proud they are of you. If you're an introvert, then you'll use less oxygen when adventuring alone, but more when you have human companions with you. The extrovert trait naturally works the same, but in reverse. Obviously, you can't pick both. Either way, if you're an empath, then you'll get a temporary boost to your combat abilities whenever you do something that your companion likes. Splice some alien DNA into your character and they'll start the game with increased health and greater endurance. But healing items won't work as well. Guess they were designed for humans. Dream Home provides you with a very luxurious, highly customizable house on a peaceful planet, but the mortgage will cost you 50,000 credits each month. Because apparently by 2,330, the housing market still sucks. If you picked the space trait, then you'll enjoy greater health and endurance while in space, but less when you're on the ground, while terra firma does things the other way around. I know, you can't pick both of them, please stop trying. Some of the other traits are tied to particular factions and religions. Choosing Raised Universal or Raised Enlightened will make your character a member of that religion, changing how some people view them and giving you access to a special chest in New Atlantis. Neon Street Rat will give you an immediate affiliation with Ryujin Industries, while United Colonies Native will tie you to the UC, and Freestar Collective Settler will make you a bona fide space cowboy. Pick any of them and you'll receive better dialogue options and rewards from that faction, while the crime bounties taken out on you by other factions are greatly increased. Wanted gives you a damage buff when you're low health, but you'll have to deal with bounty hunters trying to kill you. Finally, the Serpent's Embrace aligns you with the Great Serpent religion and gives you a temporary health and endurance boost anytime you grab jump, while hitting you with a debuff if you don't jump regularly.
Okay, so we've covered the perks and quirks that your character will start off with, but what about the ones they have to work for? Like most Bethesda RPGs, Starfield provides you with a diverse range of skills to unlock depending on your chosen playstyle, each of which can then be upgraded by completing specific challenges related to them. So if you want to improve your ballistic damage, for example, well, you'll need to knock off a whole lot of bad guys using ballistics. Starfield skills are divided into 5 categories, so let's break them down and talk about all the ones we've discovered. Physical skills naturally include things like melee combat boosts, health buffs, and an increase to the amount you can carry. We've also glimpsed a nifty decontamination skill, which should help you avoid picking up any nasty while you're exploring that great filthy cosmos, as apparently there are diseases and debuffs out there. Bit feeble. The social skill tree actually covers quite a wide range of approaches, allowing your character to influence people and aliens in different ways. You can upgrade your persuasion, bargaining, and diplomacy skills to help you smooth talk your way through the galaxy, or put points into intimidation to make lower level enemies flee, with the instigation skill even allowing you to goad them into attacking their own allies. Leadership also increases the rate at which companions gain affinity, making them more effective allies. Combat skills upgrade your fighting chops in all the ways you'd expect. You can improve your proficiency with specific types of weapons, boost your reload speed, and so on. If you're a shoot first, ask questions later sort of gamer, this is the skill tree for you. We glimpsed skills called marksmanship and rapid reloading, likely increasing accuracy and reload rate. More cerebral players might prefer to spend their points in the science category, where they'll find a whole variety of disciplines to study, from brushing up on their medicine knowledge, to improving their healing and chemistry to improve chem potions that you create, to using astrophysics and surveying to learn more about the world around them, and astrodynamics to help their ship jump even further. There's also outpost engineering, which probably improves your base building too. Finally, tech skills can allow you to deal more damage to robotic foes and hack digilocks more easily. Oh, did I also mention that the game comes with a jetpack? Well, we can also see a payload skill too, which seems to add more cargo space to your ship, as well as missile weapon systems, which are also likely attached to your ship, ideally fending off pirates and other enemies.
Of course, it won't just be your character that you'll be customizing in Starfield. There's also the small matter of your ship. Or I guess that should be ships, since Starfield allows you to amass your very own fleet. You get them either by purchasing them, claiming them from enemies, or just nicking them while no one is looking. In the ship builder, you'll also notice that you can name each ship, which should help you keep things straight. The builder tool also gives you an incredible amount of freedom to customize the ship itself, assembling its various components into all sorts of odd shapes, and giving you intricate control over the paint job too. You won't be able to do this right away though, you'll need to build towards it as you play the game. If you decide to steal a ship though, you can't customize it or pillage its parts until you've registered it, which costs credits. The layout of your ship is also dictated by this system, allowing you to create expansive multi-story ships with numerous stations for your crew to busy themselves with. It can also be decked out with decorations, crafting and research stations, and even gun racks, just to show off all the tasty bits of loot that you've uncovered in the settled systems. And beneath that nice cosmetic layer, you'll find a bunch of deep RPG mechanics to tool around with. Each ship has a wide variety of components that can be upgraded, from the capacity of its fuel tanks to the strength of its shield generator. Take a flick through the ship's stat page and you can see how far each of these has been upgraded, as well as things like how far your current ship can jump, how powerful a reactor is working with, and how heavy the whole thing is. You can also see just how much of the ship's power you're distributing to each component, allowing you to switch things up depending on your situation, giving you more firepower during a dogfight, or powering up your engine to make a quick getaway, and so on. In short, there's a whole lot of different ways to tune up your ships. Whether you're looking to craft a terrifying battleship or a speedster that can set a new record on the Kessel Run, you'll find everything you need in the cosmos.
Now, Starfield features over 1,000 planets for players to visit, each with their own fastidiously crafted atmospheres and ecosystems. But when you decide where to head next, you'll actually be able to view all of the information you've gathered so far about each planet. Is it inhabited? Which faction's most prevalent? And perhaps most importantly, are they currently trying to kill you? Well, once you've touched down on a given planet, you can then use your scanner to learn even more about its wildlife, some of which can even be tamed if you have that xenosociology skill we mentioned. From your ship, you'll also be able to see the missions that are currently available, allowing you to make an informed decision about whether you really want to go to that far-off ice ball where there's a massive bounty on your head. We also learned in another interview with Todd Howard that 10% of the planets in the game have life on them across the cosmos, and any of the data that you gather on each planet you can then sell for credits, so it certainly does pay to explore. Sometimes diplomacy fails, and in those cases you'll want to have something very deadly to hand. Fortunately, there are a ton of just such deadly somethings to play with in Starfield. Each weapon has its own set of stats, measuring stuff like fire rate, accuracy, range, how heavy it is, everything you'd expect. These weapons, though, are all pretty modular, allowing you to swap in new parts to boost these stats, or even fundamentally change how a particular weapon works. There are also a variety of damage types, from classic ballistics to slightly more futuristic death dealers like lasers, particle beams, and even electromagnetic weapons. You'll also find that you can change a weapon's damage type by swapping in the right parts. From rifles, shotguns, and pistols to melee weapons, throwables, and some seriously heavy-duty options, Starfield might just have the most well-stocked arsenal that Bethesda has ever produced. And this detailed approach also extends to your GARMs as well, with slots for things like spacesuits, packs, helmets, and apparel all on display in the player inventory. We can expect there to be varying rarities of equipable items out there, as confirmed by this first ever look at a legendary item. And you know what? I reckon it'll be well worth your time to deck out your wardrobe with as many clothing options as possible, considering they can feature powerful buffs and attributes to suit any situation. Armour stats include defensive rolls for physical, energy, and electromagnetic damage, as well as attributes for thermal, airborne, corrosive, and radiation environmental resistances, which, considering the game has 1,000 planets, you probably want a diverse selection here. We can also see 3 rolled bonuses on this helmet that link back to Starfield's skill system. It's too early to know for sure, but this could point to items gifting you skills that you haven't actually invested skill points into, making this a potentially lucrative way to boost your character's effectiveness in even more scenarios. Plus, it just seems kind of hilarious that a helmet can cause your nearby enemies to burst into flames. Serves them right. Now, we don't quite know yet whether or not this legendary item was a guaranteed drop from the activity the player completed in that gameplay reveal, or if it was just a random bit of luck, but we also don't know too much about whether luck as an attribute even impacts the quality of items you find in Starfield. But if you do want to hear more about it when the news breaks, hit that subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out.
After a long day of taking space names and kicking space ass, you'll want to have somewhere quiet to retire to, like an outpost. These base camps can be built almost anywhere on any planet, with habitat modules that come in a huge range of shapes, sizes, and specifications. While building an outpost, you can switch freely between the usual perspective and a top-down camera, making it super easy to build your own intergalactic dream home. You can then live there, and you can also assign members of your crew to crash there and keep an eye on things while you're away. On top of that, you can set up extractors to automatically harvest resources for you, turning the whole place into a tidy source of passive income. Because 300 years in the future, we're still all about that grind set. As you watch outer space stretching out endlessly in front of you, it's likely that you'll fancy some companionship during your Starfield journey. Companions differ from regular crew in that they are handcrafted characters, each with their own bespoke stories and backgrounds, as well as their own particular set of skills. Here's what we actually know about a few of the game's companions already, not including the adoring fan we mentioned earlier. Sarah Morgan is a key member of Constellation, the space exploration group that you'll be joining up with at the start of the story. She's a natural leader who's handy with anything laser-based and who also dabbles in botany. Then there's the space cowboy Sam Coe, both an ace pilot and a deadly marksman. He'll make a mighty fine partner wherever you go. Barrett is another Constellation member. With his engineering expertise and his flair for robotics, he's sure to raise your team's average IQ by at least a couple of points. We also have Vasco the robot, who can say your name. Of course, in a universe as wide as Starfield's, it's safe to assume that there are plenty more companionable folks just waiting to be found.
As you'd expect from a Bethesda game, Starfield features various factions that you can choose to join up with, from the Law and Order types over at the United Colonies, to the gunslingers of the Freestar Collective, the megacorp known as Ryogen Industries, and even the space pirates of the Crimson Fleet. Joining up with any of them will open up new quests, dialogue options, and storylines, but it can come at the expense of upsetting one of the others, leading them to put a bounty on your head. The good news is you don't have to commit to just one of these factions, you can just sprinkle yourself out a bit and make loads of friends. You'll also encounter the various religions that we mentioned earlier, who may interact with you differently depending on what background you gave your character. Starfield is going to hit Xbox and PC Game Pass on September 6th, at which point Xbox Series X gamers can look forward to enjoying it in 4K, while Series S players will have a gentlemanly 1440p to work with. If you're playing on PC, these are the specs you need to know. You're going to need 16GB of RAM, 125GB of SSD space to store the game, and at least an AMD Ryzen 5 2600X or an Intel Core i7 6800K for your CPU, with at least an AMD Radeon RX 5700 or Nvidia GeForce 1070 Ti to handle your graphics card. If you feel like buying the game outright, there are plenty of editions to choose from. The Premium Edition will give you access to the Shattered Space Story expansion as soon as it's released, as well as a bunch of fun bonus content like art books and soundtracks. Not to mention the fact that you'll get to access the game 5 days before anyone else. Then there's the Constellation Edition, which comes with all of that, plus a gorgeous steelbook display case, a Constellation patch, and your very own Chronomark watch. And if you've been paying attention, you'll notice that it's actually an exact replica of the watch that your character uses in the game. Oh, and do you know what that watch would go great with? The Starfield gamepad and headset, both of which are available to buy now, so don't miss out. And with that, I reckon you guys are ready to step out into the vastness of the universe and begin your very own Starfield adventure. Enjoy!